everybody. Welcome back to another episode of FFB from the 50. I'm here with Patrick and Joe, and we're going to start a new series for 2025. It's called Fly on the Wall Fireside Chat, where we're going to be talking to each other just in a conversational fashion. We've invited you to come along and be the fly on the wall, but don't forget you can be a part of the conversation. Go down to the comment section below, and we will do our best to respond to the people that are out there commenting. What am I missing? What are some of your philosophies? Because I play against you too. I want to know these things.
The handcuff discussion was I've moved in that direction where I've de-emphasized handcuffs as well. So that was an interesting point. Me personally, I'm trying to de-emphasize wide receiver a little bit. I just think that there's so much depth there that I think hero RBs, RB1, like true RB1s, I mean, they almost have to be treated like tight ends anymore. I mean, there's just, there's not as few of them relative to tight ends, but there's just not many. There's
true RB1s.
True RB1s. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'd have to sit down and look, but there can't be more than like 7-8 of them.
I agree.
That are true week to week RB1s, set it and forget it. But I like the adjustment you made a couple of years ago with when you're drafting, not taking specifically kicker. I like more so than defense. Mm-hmm. Even though defense is a little less sticky year to year, so maybe I should probably flip that. I've thought about that myself. Defense is not, it's not super predictive. Like turnovers, for instance, are one of the most unpredictable statistical categories there is. You know, you can lead the league in turnovers, and the next year you'll be at the bottom of the league. So using that as a metric to be able to predict defense is not very good. Mm-hmm. I think the fantasy community in general, in terms of predicting defense, is not super good anyway. There's a lot of volatility there.
And that's not a new strategy. I've been doing that for like 10 years.
Yeah, I'm late on the curve on that one.
I do not draft a kicker or a defense. Mm-hmm. Instead, what I'll do is I'll go out and I'll grab those young rookie running backs. Now this year, the rookie running backs are going super high, so that's probably not going to happen this year. They're just not going to be there. But because we don't draft like right at the beginning of the season, this year it's really early. We always draft our leagues the leagues that I commission on the second Saturday in August. This year it's the 9th already. But my thought is I want to load up on running backs. That way if any of these running backs get hurt in camp, I've already got the guy. So I'm not drafting these guys as handcuffs, because if the beginning of the season starts and that guy's not hurt, then I just toss him. That's when I grab my kicker or my defense. But the reality is I stream my defense anyway. You could have the best defense in the league. Let's take Dallas. You know, every year they get drafted because they do create a lot of sacks. Mm-hmm. They do get, a lot of turnovers. But if they're going against Philly, are you starting them?
Yeah.
So I typically stream my defenses week to week. So if I do draft a defense this year, it's probably going to be like Arizona.
Well, and there's nothing worse than carrying two defenses. There's so painful. Unless you can justify dropping a second tight end or second quarterback.
Yeah.
Dropping a fourth wide receiver or fifth or fourth or fifth running back is just, that's a kick in the balls.
Yeah, the only way I'm carrying two defenses if I have a top one or two defense. Yeah. And I see them having like a 2 or 3 game streak in the future.
Totally agree. What I found myself doing, and I know there's a few others in our leagues that do it, is you start getting towards the end of the year and you have that elite defense, or you have a good defense with a really good playoff matchup. Like, I don't mind rostering a couple of, like, 2 defenses late in the year, and I'll drop that 4th or 5th wide receiver because, in theory, if I get to the playoffs, I'm not starting them anyway. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to set up my playoff roster. And so I'm willing to carry 2 defenses at the end of the league year, as I position myself for the playoffs. But that's about the only time I can ever justify that.
And you actually do see that in the competitive leagues quite a bit. But I think the point that you just made, Patrick, is something that we need to focus on here is, we're talking about roster construction. But the way that we construct our roster in the beginning of the season is to get to the playoffs. The way that we're constructing our bench at the end of the season is to win the playoffs. So you're right. And when we're talking about our bench, we need to talk about that pivot. That moment that we pivot from what's going to get us there to now that we've got there, how are we going to win it all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's a great point because I think there are too many fantasy managers that become very static, very rigid, and they don't move. They don't make the changes that they need to make, and that's why they lose. Fantasy football is definitely a game of luck. You need your players to win. You need your players to be healthy. You need them to score. There's no doubt that there's luck involved. You could have the second most points in a head-to-head matchup, or in a league that does head-to-head, and still lose because you went against the high score for that week.
Yeah.
But it's no coincidence that a lot of the teams that make the playoffs every year are about the same.
Yeah.
It's all about management.
Of course.
Yeah.
There was, in terms of carrying two defenses, going to go back to that, there were multiple times where I'm like, just as an example, like I had Trey Tucker. I'm like, wow, he got me one catch for 4 weeks in a row. That's great. When I could have the top defense or the number 2 defense because somebody let him go because they were on a bye week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bye Trey Tucker.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired of being disappointed.
Yeah.
Not to call it Trey Tucker, but just as an example.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worked out for me with picking up, knowing that is an elite defense.
Let me ask you.
I'm willing to hold on to.
Let me ask you guys: if when you start getting into those situations where you're approaching those late season situations, at what point do you guys start angling for altering your roster for the playoffs? Whether it's you're looking for a tight end or a defense matchup or a kicker matchup. I mean, is it obviously some of this is record dependent?
Yeah.
But let's say theoretically you're locked in, hypothetically into the playoffs. You don't have to worry about that. At what point are you starting to adjust your? So
let's clarify some things here. We're talking about 14-week regular season, 15-week. So let's say 14.
Yeah.
All right, just for example, because there's some leagues that do the 15th. We don't because I don't want a bunch of players on bye week for the championship or on the bench resting during the championship. It is all very much record dependent, but it's also point dependent as well because let's say that I'm in a 3-way tie for first place. There's 3 teams with the same record, but team number 4, we got like a 2-game advantage on that person. Okay. We play in some competitive leagues. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but in the Dynasty League, 6 teams had winning records last year. 6 out of 10 had winning records. Yeah. So you really couldn't take your foot off the pedal too early last year, or you wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
But having said that, I usually about 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time, I start planning for it.
Yeah.
The problem with that is I can't sacrifice the victories that I need to get there under the assumption that I'm going to get there. On the flip side, though, it's as dependent upon the teams that are close to me in the standings as it is to me myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it also depends on my team health. Because if I've got a running back that's coming back off of injury, and this is a terrible example because this did not happen in real life, but let's just use it for example. Or I guess it could happen. If I take Aaron Jones this year, I'm going to take Jordan Mason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't consider him a handcuff.
No, it's
because I think it is going to be. They went out. They didn't just go out and sign him as a free agent. They traded for him.
Yeah.
Okay. But let's say that one of those 2 guys gets hurt, and we're getting down to the nitty gritty. I'm going to hold on to both of them. I don't know how well the guy's health is going to be coming back, but I'm going to assume he's going to come back at some point.
Yeah.
It's a position that we talked about, running back, very thin. So again, the rest of the roster makes sense, or would need to make sense. Joe, in your situation, let's say that I'm carrying 6 wide receivers on my bench. I'll probably pull that trigger a little bit earlier because I'm already leaning heavy towards one position anyway. And
especially if you know they're not going to contribute.
Yeah.
Like Trey Tucker. I'm like,
Like
I've seen it now 8 times. I've seen it now this many weeks in a row. This guy's going to be a... Sorry, go ahead.
If I get to a situation like that, I'm willing to go farther up the roster than even a Trey Tucker type. Like, assuming I'm not theoretically keeping this guy, well, potentially keeping this guy, like, I'm willing to drop, like, if the situation is right, I'm willing to drop a fourth wide receiver. Because realistically, I'm going to have 2 wide receivers I'm going to start, and at most a flex. And so, I mean, functionally, we're all gambling here to some extent, right? So, like, I'm not just dropping the last guy on my bench because, I mean, you've got to balance situations where you maybe your IR is filled because of an injury situation, and you have an injured guy on the bench that you don't want to drop because you're hopefully keeping this person, and so you can't drop this person, and this person's coming back for the playoffs, but he's still not ready, and he's in your IR spot, and I'm obviously situation dependent, but I'm willing to drop like a fourth wide receiver or a fourth running back, assuming they're not an elite handcuff that has real injury potential, RB1 situation. And so, like, I'll go a little farther up than just the last guy on my bench if the situation calls for it.
And I would take that a step further. And for me, I don't even necessarily look at the numbers. You could have a wide receiver number 10, but if they scored all their points in 3 games and then crapped the bed in the other 11, I probably won't play them in the playoffs. It's just too risky. They may have... I'll use T. Higgins as an example. Guy has games where he blows up, and then he has games where he doesn't show up. George Pickens last year for me, games where he blew up, games he didn't show up. If you don't have to rely on a guy that's not consistent, if you have to rely on a guy that's boom or bust, okay. But if you don't have to, I don't care how high the ceiling is, if the floor is so incredibly low. Let me ask you, and this is a good conversation to have. If I've got 2 wide receivers and they're separated by 10 points, but one guy is consistently getting you 10 to 15 points a week, and the other guy is getting you 20 points one week, 2 points the next, 20 points one week, 2 points the next, which one? Goodbye. I'm keeping the guy that's going to give me 10 to 15 because in the championship, I can't risk him giving me a 2.
Yeah.
And that might be... So even a wide receiver 3 on some people's teams will get cut in that situation.
Yeah. But I've leaned towards that with myself in the past, and I always struggle with this exact conversation. Because you have guys like Rashid Shaheed in New Orleans.
That's a great example. Where,
he'll go 5 straight weeks where he's 7 points or less. And then he'll have a 30-pointer, and, he inflates the scoring. And he, by the time you get to the end of the season, like, oh, he was wide receiver 28, But if you isolate this week and this week, you're looking at like wide receiver 60.
Yeah.
And me, I build my rosters typically with a consistent, a bias towards consistency. But inevitably, enough of us that start biasing in that direction opens up value on those guys.
It does.
And there's a time and place for those guys. Like, so let's say I'm in a situation where I stack my bye weeks and I need a home run. I've got Rashid Shaheed sitting as my 6th wide receiver coming off the bench. I need a Hail Mary because I'm projected to lose by 30 points in this thing.
Yeah.
I plug him in, and granted, do I have like an 8% chance in him going off? Yeah. But you stack that on top of my original win probability, and, maybe there's some value there.
I saw him go off in person against the Colts. Yeah. And he was incredible.
Yeah. The raw talent's there.
Yeah, I mean, you see the flashes of it. I think another example, I can think of 2.
To be fair, though, he also didn't have a quarterback.
It still doesn't. Doesn't have a quarterback.
I'm talking about when Carr got hurt.
Sure. Yeah, and still doesn't have a quarterback.
Yeah,
unless Tyler Shuck is something that he wasn't in college.
Well, so when I made that comment about not drafting defenses and streaming them, like if I do draft a defense this year, it's going to be Arizona because guess who they play week 1? The Saints.
Yeah, the Saints.
But here's another question: even if you have guys that have, I'm going to use Green Bay's wide receiver room last year. Jaden Reed had games where he went off. Christian Watson had games where he went off. Romeo Dobbs had some good games. What was that other guy that they had? I can't think of his name offhand.
Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks.
Wicks is the one, right? Okay, I'm not chasing which guy is going to get the top going into the playoffs. They're getting dumped.
That's a prime example of when you pick up a top 1, 2, or 3 elite defense.
Yep, exactly.
The Green Bay Packers is a prime example.
Exactly. Another one that I can think of last year, Quentin Johnson.
Yeah.
If he got a touchdown, he did great, but he was another one of those wide receivers.
Yeah, it was all or nothing.
Man, I mean, he put up flashes, 15 to 20 points. You're like, okay, all right, I'm going to go get him.
Yeah.
And then, then you get him, and then what does he do? He does
I dealt with this for years with Will Fuller. Will Fuller was another guy
my
just
gosh.
like that.
Yep. So, honestly, I think it just depends also, too, on looking ahead and projecting. So, like, let's say you're looking ahead and you notice that you got a matchup in the playoffs where, and I'm going to use running backs here because, we all want to play our running backs, but what if your running back has just a really crappy matchup? And you're probably not, because I will change my running backs in and out because there are so few bell cows, like you were saying, right? So let's say I don't have one of those guys. Let's say I got one of the. I don't even want to use Kenneth Walker as an example because he is he shouldn't be Charbonnet's super talented, but let's say that you're in one of those. Let's say that you got Isaiah Pacheco, okay, but you're going against the toughest defense against the run.
Like maybe the Super Bowl?
No, well, I mean, yeah, they would, but I'm just talking like, let's say in that
the Eagles have a pretty good run defense. Sorry,
but what are you gonna do? You gonna start him?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. It's very much dictated by what's on your roster, and I mean, all these things are relative to whatever your options are. So I mean, it's a very tough hypothetical, but I. Like if I've got go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
If I've got a guy that's in the flex that's matched up against a concrete wall, me personally, I lean towards wide receivers in that situation. I would much rather just not. I mean, touchdowns are already volatile as it is.
Yeah. And
when you're in the playoffs, like if you're in a situation where you need to win 3 games. Or 2, I guess, depending on your playoff format, 2 or 3 games. If you're trying to hit a 1-4 outcome in 2 consecutive games, you're not winning a lot of championships doing that.
You're right.
When it, with what you just mentioned about Pacheco's tough, but if you have a bellwether, those guys are going to. Well, people have talked about in the past. They outthink themselves and they're like, well, they're facing this number 1 defense. We're going to bench. And then he, I don't care who McCaffrey's facing. If he's healthy,
you're playing
you're playing him. But there are people that have benched. They've done that before. I'm talking about in a
very bold strategy, Con.
Very bold strategy.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't happen. Now, I have benched players. I've benched wide receiver 1s. In the past, I've had wide receiver 1s that I benched because I knew that they were going to be facing or being blanketed by
Patrick Surtain, Darrell Revis.
He traded me to Tyreek Hill. Mm-hmm. Not last year, the year before when he was
I did.
One of the best seasons ever.
Yeah.
I got a first and third round pick out of it though. And I turned that into that was a win-win. But I'm just talking like benching some of these guys if they're going against an elite cornerback who is shut down. But you're not dropping those guys. You're talking like your 3, 4, 5th. You're not talking, but I mean it's a conversation we had. But I feel like that's less of a thing now than it used to be because it used to be this guy always lines up on this side of the field. This guy always, but now they move him around. Offenses get creative. So
I feel like, tell me if you're wrong. I feel like the depth of running backs this year with the 1s and 2s, where they're sharing. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's higher than it's ever been.
Yeah.
If you go through this list of guys, it's like Chase Brown, Zach Moss. You can't really. I mean, there's some absolute great tandems. But like an example of something where Irving and White, I don't know which one's going to end up with 1,000 yards.
It'll be Irving.
But how do you know?
White's toast.
Is he beat up? Is he too beat up?
No, he's not too beat up. It's just Bucky Irving overtook him.
Now I got one for you.
Okay.
Because he's toast. Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb, they have as 212.
Excuse me.
We have no clue if Nick Chubb can't end up. I mean, he is such a freak.
But see, that is a good point, though, because there are some guys that are able to come back off of these things and do well. And then,
you know, he could be Frank Gore.
And Joe Mixon hasn't stayed healthy very much lately.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, the only like, Chubb definitely interests me. He does. But there's something to be said for the production at the end of the year last year. Mm-hmm. He was not good.
Yeah, tell me about it. I had him.
Nick Chubb?
He was very touchy, but he was also coming off that injury, so...
Yeah, no, and
he's got another year.
It normally takes a year to bounce back from those ACLs, but the question then becomes, how many ACLs can you bounce back from before your knees are just cooked?
Yeah,
you know, I think he's fourth procedure or something.
I just hope he'll be able to walk when he's 40 years old. I hope he's got quality of life after, because he's given so much for the game.
Well, he's a running back, so he's not made that much money relative to his peers. Yeah. So, I mean...
Don't forget that he had better stats than Saquon Barkley up until 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They're drafted the same draft class, right?
Yeah.
And
Chubb's a stud.
Something like that,
Oh, absolute stud. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry. Mm-hmm. He's averaging like 5.5 yards a carry there for a long time.
Yeah. So...
All right.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
What else you guys got? Before we wrap up, how to construct your bench? What do you got?
When it comes to this Pittsburgh Steelers,
what a mess.
Is Jalen Warren going to give up his? Is he going to give up the starting spot? Is he just going to take number 2? Is he just going to be number 2 to a rookie?
Patrick, that's a great question for you.
I think he is. I think Caleb Johnson's the guy. I think they're one of like 15 teams in the league that they don't have an RB1. It's just an RB committee. It just is. I mean, and you can look at it across the league. Just in my own division, Quinshon Judkins, Jerome Ford, in a very similar situation. You look on down. Let's look in the AFC South. Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, obviously the Texans with Mixon and Chubb. I think you're going to have some balance there. Etienne, Bigsby, you have Tutton that got drafted. They're like, there's just so few actual RB1s.
Yeah.
That like all these are just committees. Like basically 2/3 of the leagues are just committees, and they're not even like an RB1 dominated committee. It's really a true timeshare. And me personally, like in a backfield like that, I might consider Caleb Johnson if I'm in a dynasty league, but I want nothing to do with these committees because you don't know how they're going to shake out. Guys that you didn't think could catch the ball because they didn't do it in college all of a sudden come in the league and they're catching 40 passes, and it's like, where did this come from? And then you've got some standalone value that you didn't see coming, and then it's like, did you pick the right guy? Did you pick the wrong guy? It's just
it'll mess with you.
And I'm even less confident in the receivers.
Oh, sure.
The Jets, they're number 2. Alan Lazard, they're number 3. Josh Reynolds.
It's good to be Garrett Wilson.
Right? But that right there eliminates the number 2 receiver. You're not going to pick either of them. I mean, how many times have people got caught with Wayndale Robinson as the number 2? Now, they do actually have a lot of quarterbacks in the Giants now.
Well, that's one thing they got plenty of.
In regards to Caleb Johnson and the draft that I already did, Johnson went in the 9th round, and Warren went in the 11th. So, in all my mocks that I've done, Johnson's gone before Warren.
I think Johnson was favored for a good reason.
You think so?
Yeah. I think Warren is... I mean, I just... Jalen Warren is... Rodgers going to want to dump the ball off. But... he does...
Johnson can catch.
Well, yeah. Well,
I mean, he does both. I
just think that you're going to see a lot of... I don't know. Now that I think about it, Rodgers is going to want to operate out of the shotgun.
Mm-hmm. He's going to want to run.
Which is going to kind of hurt Caleb Johnson because Caleb Johnson is a typical eye back, where he's behind a quarterback under center. I guess I'm kind of talking myself out of this now that I think about it. But
I can convince you even more. I can convince you even more to talk you out of it. So I will probably not have any shares outside of maybe Dynasty of Caleb Johnson because he's going to get drafted before I will. I don't trust Aaron Rodgers at this point. Let me rephrase that. I don't think Aaron Rodgers at this point would trust a rookie running back. He's going to want Warren in there. He's going to want a running back that's going to know how to pick up a blitz.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to want a running back that's going to know how to find the open spot out in the flat. And I just don't think Aaron Rodgers at this point likes rookies. So when Aaron Rodgers, I mean, the rumor was always going to be that he was going to go to Pittsburgh. But when he went to Pittsburgh, it was after the draft. I was like, well, I guess I'm not getting Caleb Johnson because I'm not going to pay that premium for a rookie that Aaron Rodgers isn't going to want to be on the field with.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I mean, they're just one committee of 15, 20 in the league that are like that, and it's man, that's a crapshoot. You start getting into that range, it's an absolute crapshoot.
Yep.
And
if you look at I agree with you on that. But if you look at the number 2 receivers on these teams, talk about a crapshoot. There's a list of super elite number 2s and then guys you just have never heard of. In elite number 2, Devontae Adams. That's an elite number 2.
That's going to
Cooper Kupp is an elite number 2.
Nah, I disagree completely.
You think he's done? How about Chris
I think he's
Godwin?
cooked.
You think
Chris Godwin as a number
I think Cooper Kupp is cooked. I think he is.
You take Trey Harris over him. You know Trey Harris?
Yeah. I actually like Harris.
You take Marvin Mims Jr. over him, number 2.
No.
You would take Josh Downs over him.
Josh Downs. Yes.
You would take Darnell Mooney over him.
Probably not.
Xavier Legette.
Definitely not.
Rashid Shaheed.
No.
Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
Yes. By a lot.
Even facing suspension, I still would.
By a lot.
Okay. Anybody on the Green Bay Packers?
Not even their number 1.
I don't even know who Matthew.
There's too many. There's 5 wide receivers in that room.
Mm-hmm.
Jamison Williams.
That's
intriguing. Yes.
That's an intriguing.
You would take Jamison Williams over Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
I bet you $100 that Cooper Kupp has a better season.
What is a better season defined as?
We'll define 2. We'll do it on 3 categories: receptions, yards, touchdowns. Whoever wins 2 out of the 3. Or you could add a 4th and a 5th if you want. It helps if it's an odd number. Or we can do it for $20.
I like that.
$100?
I like that.
$100 between Jamison Williams. You have Jamison Williams. I have Cooper Kupp.
And
the winner of receptions, yards, and touchdowns.
Okay.
And if they tie in one of them,
or you could just use like a proxy as fantasy points. I mean, that would work. That would work too, I guess. But no, I'm fine with that.
Okay, it's on the record.
All right. So Triple Crown or fantasy points though?
Let's do Triple Crown.
Triple Crown's right.
All right. So 2 out of the 3 of the Triple Crown. Okay. See, this is why you come out to this channel. You get to see this kind of cool stuff.
I just think the underlying metrics for Kupp are a real concern. He can't separate anymore. He can't separate, and now
Jameson Williams can.
Jameson Williams can separate,
and they're going to find ways to get him the ball.
Yeah, the problem with Jameson Williams is they no longer have Ben Johnson. Mm-hmm. But I also think you're likely to see in Detroit is Goff is going to be throwing a lot more crazy crap all over the place. And that's likely going to lead to them being in situations where they're not ahead as frequently. So they're not running the ball as often. Goff's throwing the ball more, turning the ball over some. But some of that will matriculate its way to Jameson Williams. The issue with Kupp is that he now has a rejuvenated Sam Darnold. But how much of Sam Darnold is Kevin O'Connell? And how much of Sam Darnold is this new I've shed the ghosts of old Sam Darnold? I think he'll be solid. I'm skeptical that you're going to see an MVP caliber, and Cooper Kupp is one of 2 wide receivers that I'm fading hard this year. He and Deebo Samuel.
Did you guys hear the report that Deebo showed up out of shape and fat?
No,
I saw the video.
Who am I to criticize though? But yeah, no, They both can't separate anymore. Both for very different reasons. And with Cooper Kupp and Debo, you're going to be able to do some stuff underneath. Like I imagine Kupp he'll lead in receptions. I really do. Like I think he'll beat James Williams in receptions. But I don't think the yards are going to be there. And if the yards are there for Jameson Williams, the touchdown volatility likely will follow.
He is an elite. He does have elite speed.
He does.
So he can bring the big.
Yeah. But I mean, Kupp does have. I mean, there's still people that are proponents, and he's going to.
You talking yourself out of this?
No. I think you should be talking yourself out of it. But I mean, he's still Cooper Kupp. There's still going to be production there, but it's just I'm not as high on him as ADP would suggest that he's at.
I don't even know what he's rated 82 and what's Jameson Williams.
Well, I'll just tell you right now. So I've got.
Jameson's at 60.
Yeah.
And Cooper's at 82. So
yeah.
There you go. All right. Before we move on to our next series on ADP and how to use it for speaking of ADP, that was a good segue. And how to use it to your advantage during the draft. Any final thoughts on how to construct your bench?
I don't think so.
I think we chewed that piece of meat pretty good. So, All right. Make sure you guys come back for the next one. We're going to talk about ADP and how to use it to your advantage when you're heading into these fantasy football drafts. All right. Anything else? Until next time. See ya.